Hello, everybody, and welcome to our session today about using AI in your consulting practice. Let me make sure that you can see our pretty faces here. There we go.
There we go.
So this event, just so we all know we're in the right place, is for mid and senior level professionals, particularly in the consulting industry, who are considering the way that AI might impact their work and, frankly, their lives. So, Jonathan, you know me, and I'm very happy to introduce to you today David A. Fields. I consider David to be a friend and a consummate professional. I've known him for the work that he's done over the years for his books, and he's also worked with some of my clients, and I hold him in the highest regard. So on a more formal side, David A. Fields works with consulting firms across the globe that are eager to accelerate growth. He's widely considered to be at the forefront of thought leadership for consulting firms. His second book, The Irresistible Consultant's Guide to Winning Clients, is Amazon's most recommended book on the business of consulting. Quite a credential. Hi, David. Welcome.
Thank you, Jason. That's a lot to live up to, but okay. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm sure that you will. So, and Jonathan is with us today as well. His camera is on the fritz, so he's going to be in avatar mode, but he will certainly be contributing by voice.
Yep, glad to be here.
So it seems that everyone today, almost everyone, is talking about AI, which I think in itself is a good enough reason for us to be talking about AI as well. But let's see if we can get a little bit deeper. And I'm going to throw this out to you, David. Okay. Why are we discussing artificial intelligence today?
It's so funny. So, Jason, like just earlier this morning, I was having a call with a professor from Carnegie Mellon, and this same topic came up completely, coincidentally. And we were both saying, I'll have some things to say about this, and Jason, you'll have some things, and people listening may have some ideas, which I would encourage you to type your ideas in. And none of us have a clue, right? We are just on the very forefront of what AI is doing in the world of consulting, and it's going to change things in ways we can't even imagine. We're starting to see it now, and I think that's why we're talking about it, because we realize, this isn't one of these waves where all of a sudden it tumbles over you. You're like, oh my God, what happened? I mean, we can see this thing coming. We're not sure what it's going to be on the other side and where it's going to sweep us, but boy, we sure know it's coming.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And thanks for mentioning people here with us. I forgot to mention, please say hi to us. Please tell us where you're from. We've got a bit of a delay here, but we would love to see that who's in the room with us, and love to be able to say hi to you as well. And of course, please ask questions during the session, and we will answer them to the best of our ability towards the end. And yeah, David, I definitely agree. And one of the things that I am seeing in my practice is that there's a lot of anxiety around AI. People aren't sure where they're going to be. I had a conversation about AI yesterday with a candidate, someone I've known for quite a while. And he started his career consulting in strategy and operations with Deloitte. He became a partner there, and then he went on to do some other things. But he said, I really need to figure out what I'm going to do, because AI is going to do a good portion of my job here in the near future, which was pretty interesting. So it's creating some anxiety for sure.
Yeah, I think rightly so.
Yeah.
Rightly so. Yeah. I think it's a harder time to be starting. If you're a young consultant, you're going in at the bottom at the where we used to bring people in at the analyst ranks. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that is, we bring in analysts. We have an analyst team, but then we have folks we subcontract to, and they might be $1,500, $2,000 a day or something like that, for well-trained folks. But I can drop all that data and information into AI, and it will give me 80% of what I was getting for the $1,800 a day person. Yeah. So as a firm owner, rather than hiring more analysts, I am absolutely looking at AI, and I think it's a harder place to start. So I think there's some good reason. Well, there's some real upsides to AI. I think there's good reason for some anxiety, especially at the lower levels.
Yeah. But
Mhm.
I think you're also mentioning here the opportunity. I've seen a little bit. I want to stay with consulting, but just as an example, in interviewing clients for searches that we're running, I've now started using it in creating position descriptions and creating lists of questions for my clients. It's been fascinating that you're good at doing that kind of thing. I mean, I've needed
Yeah.
to edit, but a lot of it is really on target. So, but let's talk a little bit about the opportunities that come along with AI.
Okay.
And I think we've got a few categories that we're going to be talking in. Hey, John, Robert, Larry, LinkedIn user, I think
From
it's
Connecticut.
Lori and Michael. Good to see you here today. So, so you'd mentioned data analysis. What kind of other categories of use cases are there that you see in consulting right now for AI?
So I would think of this slightly differently.
Mhm.
So I would think about the categories of consulting. Consulting is a very simple business. We work with firms, whether they're $1 million or $100 million. There's only four pieces to a consulting firm. You have to be able to win engagements, and you have to
Mhm.
profitably create value. That's the spinning cycle of consulting. Holding
Yeah.
that up is infrastructure, and then if you wrap a strategy around it, you have a consulting firm. That's it. And
Mhm.
I think
Okay.
if you think of AI in those categories, like how can AI help me win engagements? How can AI help me profitably create value for clients? How could AI help my infrastructure strength, which means allowing each person in the firm to do what they do best and not have to-do lists crowded with stuff that's not the best use of their time? How can we
Mhm.
have AI help us strategically be in the right market, offering the right solution to the right people? Right. Those four categories, I think, are very worth examining for every consultant and consulting firm. So now, having said that, does that make sense?
It does, and it's really interesting, sort of how you break it down. The one that seems most challenging to me is a strategy one. I know we could go deep into all four, but how do you see putting together a consulting firm strategy using AI? That seems not so immediately obvious.
Well, strategy includes a lot of different pieces. At least the way
Mhm.
we think of strategy, it includes your financial model as a firm, your overall, not the value creation, but your overall structure for how you're going to build your firm and operate as a firm. That's all part of strategy, as is impact, meaning
Mhm.
who are you going to target? And one thing AI can do for you is, first of all, it's very good with modeling. You can feed it a lot of data and a lot of information, and it will synthesize results. So if you're thinking, should I point my firm in this direction or that direction? And we're going to do a little bit of research. We're going to have conversations with a lot of people in a lot of prospective markets, which I would encourage everybody to do,
Mhm.
and then feed the interview notes into AI. AI will do a better job of thematic analysis, of finding ideas in
Mhm.
there that we might overlook and finding them really quickly. So that's how
Mhm.
it can help on the strategy side. I mean, there are other things too, but
Thematic analysis. That's interesting. I could ask questions
Mhm.
about this all day. We don't have time. Jonathan, did you
and
want
and
to
there
say
are
something?
there
Go
may
ahead.
be people
Sorry.
listening, Jason, who are real
Yeah.
experts in AI, and I'm an expert in consulting. I don't know that I see what my clients are doing with AI, right? We work with hundreds of firms, so we know what folks are doing, but there might be real AI experts who could also chime in and say what they're saying, say what they're
Yeah.
seeing out there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Feel free, folks, to ask questions, but also if you have an opinion or a point of view, that's great because we can learn from you as well. There's no question about it. Jonathan, do you have anything you'd like to contribute or any questions that you want to ask?
Yeah, I think David's hit the nail on the head, and I love the strategy question. What we do inside my firm is AI has become a free advisor.
Yep.
You can ask it questions about anything you're doing. In my case, the retained search business or any of the consulting that we do, you can ask it a question, tell it what's going on, and it gives you very interesting responses. We use it to accelerate or determine have we really thought through everything that's impacting this part of our workflow process. It's extremely useful, sort of as a free employee just to get advice.
Yeah. Yeah. So in that whole category, and again across all of them, I agree with you. one of the uses we've seen for it, always keeping in mind that AI doesn't think, right? That's a misnomer. I mean, all it is a tape recorder splicing together different pieces of what it's seen out there.
Yeah.
But it can can play a really interesting role. What we've had firms do, and we've seen used successfully, is to tell an AI engine to be a devil's advocate.
Hmm.
When you ask an AI to do lateral thinking, you get very funny results.
Yes.
And it is truly lateral and weird. And that's useful because it's hard sometimes as consultants to get out of our own way. Once we have a conclusion, once we have a hypothesis and decided here's what's best for the client, here are the recommendations. And our
Right.
team has been working on it with us. But an AI has not been and has no emotional connection to the recommendations. So if you say poke holes in this, what's possibly wrong here? AI is great at that. And you will strengthen your deliverable, you'll strengthen your messaging. I mean, it's excellent for that.
And now we keep talking about AI, and I keep hearing AI, and I keep thinking ChatGPT, because that's the tool
Yeah.
that I use. But there are a lot of different tools. So maybe you have some specific tools that you could talk about or use cases. I mean, you actually just mentioned one, but some way that we can get a little bit more granular and know how to access the themes or the actions that you're talking about.
Yeah, well, there are specific things you could do, and then there are the tools. And here's the danger, Jason, is if we say a tool today, there'll be a better one tomorrow.
Okay.
There is, I will suggest to folks, and I'm no way affiliated with this company, that they try looking at POE.com, which is a sort of an aggregator of bots, including some very funny ones, where there's one that will assume you're a criminal. And so no matter what you ask, it will respond to you in the lens that you're up to something nefarious. But it has all sorts of different engines. I mean, we use Claude a lot now. We occasionally use Perplexity, which is nice because it gives you the sources. But through Poe, you can try lots of different bots. And building your own is helpful. So another use case is to build an expert in a certain topic that your clients want to know about, which may or may not be your deep area of expertise.
Okay.
That's
You-
very useful.
right? And you can feed into an AI as long as you have permissions and you're doing it ethically. You can say, would you like to know what the top 10 authors on this particular topic think, or how they would respond if we combine them all? And what we're going to do is we're going to buy a copy of the book, we're going to feed it into the AI engine,
Mm-hmm.
and say, and now you ask the question, we'll give you our point of view, but we'll also ask the combined top 10 authors their point of view. Instant expert on your team. And can be very, very useful. Now, there
You
are
know,
engines and there are a whole bunch of them that will allow you to build that. Sorry, go ahead.
it sounds like there's a whole career opportunity in that if you are able to think of the ways to create AI. And I've actually seen something, I forget what they call them, but creating strings of things. I mean, that's what you're describing, really. That's going to be a profession itself, it sounds like. That's not obvious,
Probably the profession that will very quickly be eclipsed by AIs that can populate their own AIs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right? Because I can say,
enough.
hey, AI, build me a new bot with the 10 best sellers on recruiting.
Right.
And it'll say, got it.
Right.
Done.
Okay. All right. So recommended AI tools. You started in with that one. So I got POE.
Yeah, that's where I would start. Again, I would really welcome suggestions from anyone. And that's for chat bots. But of course, there's a lot of different types of AI. AI is not just chat bots. And if we want to think even more broadly beyond AI and include RPA, robotic process automation, which I think every consulting firm should be looking at, that opens up a whole nother category of tools, and that can help automate your consulting firm and all the little tasks and some of the data analysis and how you're recording things. So that's a whole nother thing. But there are all sorts of tools. I think one our firm uses is MeetGeek, but there are all sorts of variations of it. You'll see this all the time where people will send a bot into a meeting, and it's capturing it and then summarizing, right? So it's taking the transcript and saying, well, here are the key points that came out of the meeting.
Right.
That's fairly phenomenal, as long as you don't allow them into, if you're doing a webinar, what's happening is people are sending bots.
Okay.
So
Do we
now
have any
you have to
bots today? Raise your hand if you're a bot.
Yeah, exactly. So now you have
Yeah.
you have to start excluding the bots, because you're like, okay, well, great. This is a fun room. I mean, imagine being a comedian these days, right? And you're standing up, and it's just like a room full of computers that are going to, try to summarize. Well, here was a funny joke he said about, his family. Like, well, that's not going to work. That's what consulting is, and presenting on webinars is starting to feel like sometimes.
Yeah. No, I hear you. All right, so just some specific tools. If anybody has them, throw them up in the comments. I want to throw up the two that you mentioned. Meet Geek. Did I get that right?
Yeah. MEETGEEK. But we've
Okay.
again, there are tons of these things, Jason.
Okay.
And the
So not a good
danger.
idea to go through these recommended ones or anything, or
Well, again, today's recommended is tomorrow's old news. I've been telling people I think ChatGPT could be the Alta Vista of 2023.
yeah.
For those of us who remember Alta Vista,
yes, yeah. Now I get it.
right? They get it. And for those of
Yeah.
us those of you who are listening, going, "What's Alta
Mhm.
Vista?" That's my point.
Yeah.
Right. It was the leading search engine at one point.
Yes.
ChatGPT might be gone. I mean, I don't know that. So, and we use Claude. Claude is awesome right now. Something else will come along so quickly, and to just it almost doesn't matter.
Right. I gotcha. Okay. So there's some research for everybody to do. Now.
Oh yeah. Here's the point.
$1,000 million question. How is this going to impact consulting?
It will massively affect consulting, and I'll be damned if I know exactly how. Of course,
yeah.
As we said in the beginning, I think it's going to affect the lower levels. It changes the game on analysis.
Yeah,
absolutely changes the game. I see firms using it on the front end of data collection, also to collect data better and collect data faster, because the AI can see themes, can generate hypotheses, and say, hey, start asking about this. Try collecting a little bit of information on their utilization, or on their hours, or on their management, or on the compensation structure, because we're starting to hear rumblings. The AI can trigger that and make the data collection better. It will absolutely change analysis. It will change the process of creating presentations, which for consulting firm, I mean, half our job is communicating, at least half, and AI is changing that. And when you can say, here's all the data, now build a client-ready presentation, and it gets you 95% of the way there, that's a huge shift. And we're not very far away from the three of us appearing like we're here and not being here at all, right? The whole deep fake thing is not far away. And so now the consulting becomes an exercise of, well, I'm not sure exactly, because if the AI can do the analysis, the AI can create a presentation, and the AI can look like you and sound like you. I mean, we had AI help correct a couple of errors in my audiobook, where I had, instead of saying the word profit, I said, cucumber for some reason, or whatever, right? We needed AI cloned my voice. Sounds just like me.
Wow.
Craziness. That will
not just correct it, actually go in and change your do the correction with your voice.
A word. I could type in a sentence right now, stuff I haven't said that's not recorded, and it will sound exactly like me.
Right.
That's just audio. Audio is a little easier than video, but video is not far behind, where we can have something that looks like me that will actually pass a test, and people will say, I didn't know that wasn't live.
Yeah.
That's going to change the nature of things. So much that's basic will shift. I think we're going to find a surge of, or quite potentially a surge of interest in clients for in-person work, because that's the way you can assure it's not fake.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, for the first time in one of the searches I'm doing for a big data house, one of the questions that came up, they didn't write it into the position description, but it came up in the discussion of the search strategy. The hiring authority said, I think I'd like this person to understand how to use AI tools, because how we collect and validate data has changed dramatically. And if you find someone that knows how to use these tools, David, I think you hit the nail on the head. It may be Alta Vista tomorrow, but for today, knowing how to use these tools is becoming a required skill, I think.
Oh, yeah. And we have clients who offer services around how to use AI tools.
Wow.
I mean, so there's business there. I think it changes the world of thought leadership in ways that we haven't figured out yet. There's some concern that truth in some ways, as we know it, stopped in February of 2021, because almost anyone can pretend to be an expert now. They can create their own IP, which is really just stitched together versions of other people's IP.
Yeah.
You can go on to ChatGPT, if that's your tool, and say, write an article in the style of David A. Fields.
Right.
And because I have so much published work, even though, like, who the hell's ever heard of me? Well, ChatGPT has.
Right.
And it will write an article. Will it be as good as one of my articles? I'd like to think not. If you ask it to add some puns and a chocolate reference or two, does it become closer? Yeah. Is it as good? Not quite. Is it original? No. But it still looks like IP. And that means folks who don't want to be true thought leaders, but sort of thrive on being fast followers, have very easy access to that now. That will change things a lot. It's very, very, very hard to be a thought leader in a world where anybody can create IP in an instant.
Think, honestly, I would just want to jump in and say one of the things I've said to my clients on this exact topic, particularly around leadership, is, would you put this person in the room with the people they have to share these ideas with? And that's where the difference between AI and David Fields becomes readily apparent. And honestly, David, for all of AI's ability to simulate you, if I put you in the room, we're going to know if it's you.
Right now, 2 years, 3 years,
Right now.
2 or 3 years. And I don't mean because of my cognitive decline, though that may happen also. The the improvements in AI. I mean, this is what we have yet to see. And consulting as an industry is very slow to innovate. There are disincentives to innovate. That's a different conversation. Nevertheless, there are firms now using AI. They're using AI to generate hypotheses, which is something you had mentioned. They're using AI as devil's advocate. They're using AI to recap or help their research. And those firms, or to operate faster or more efficiently, those firms will have a significant advantage. And again, I'm not 100% sure where it's headed. I'd be really curious if there are anybody listening who has ideas or thoughts on this. If you're willing, Jason, I'd be love to hear what questions people have or
yes, we'll open it up. It's kind of interesting because there are no questions in the string right now. I think everybody's just kind of dumbfounded by this. There's one comment that Larry said, "Wow, scary," which kind of speaks to the point that we made early on in the conversation. But if anybody has any questions, now
there is something in here. I'm looking and it says, "I'm curious if AI can produce creative ideas and if output from an AI bot can be patentable." I won't speak to the patentable piece because that would sound like legal advice. Can it create? Will generate creative ideas? It depends what you mean by creative. It doesn't. It doesn't think. However, one of the principles of being creative is to connect ideas that were not previously connected.
Yeah.
And AI will do that, which is why I suggested you have it be a devil's advocate, and where we've seen firms do that, or you ask it to do lateral thinking. And we love doing that. Don't give me the obvious solutions. Tell me other ways this could occur, or other come up with really wacky hypotheses for what make this happen. Will make this happen, and it will spit out wacky hypotheses, and then you can use that with your unreplicable, believable machine, which is your brain, to make other connections and spark, and then use that to drive creativity.
I think that's a great answer. I think it's a classic case of 1 + 1 = 3.
Yeah. Well,
Mhm.
the bots can process way more information way faster than we can.
Yeah.
But we have an ability to create connections that is pretty extraordinary.
Absolutely. Well, I don't see any more questions. Really,
I think
we
we're going to get them
have
later.
created just thinking and silence here. So, if there's anything that David or Jonathan that you'd like to add, otherwise I'll wrap up
Well,
and invite people to the next things.
I want to ask one question for someone who has
One.
been viewing this. I'd like to offer a question for someone else. Could you which AI tool would you recommend for someone who wants to build a business from scratch in the clean tech space?
In the clean tech?
Mhm.
No, I'd be interested to see if anybody answers that. I have no idea.
There's no particular AI tool you would recommend to say, how would I build a business in clean tech, just generically, and see what it comes up with?
No, I would say find a consultant who's an expert in clean tech.
I love it. What a great answer.
Can you recommend one?
Yeah, give
No.
me a direct message, and I can help you
Yeah.
with that.
Okay.
John Dalton here just said he thinks fast execution will become far more important than strategy. Right? Fail fast and iterate. Absolutely. And I think to the extent, I will tell you, even more than fast execution, your ability to be responsive is everything in consulting, right? So responsiveness is valued more highly than just speed of an ultimate result. And AI can help you be more responsive. And but speed in general, yeah, is really important. I think that's a really smart comment, John.
Got another one here from Larry. My thought is, how do I best team with AI to make me more relevant and valuable consultant?
I think I may be misunderstanding, but it's probably in all the ways we've been talking about, right? Just keep it open, use it, go through your each part of your business, winning engagements. Okay, can AI help me in my messaging? Can it help me identify distribution partners, marketing partners? Can it? And which the answer to all these things is yes. So you have it do this. Can it identify more platforms where I could be visible? Absolutely. What about delivery? Could I use AI to improve my content? Well, we just talked about a bunch of ways it can do that. What about infrastructure? Could I use AI to speed up my ability to perform my tasks and operate my firm? 100%.
One of the ways that I take that comment or question uh, is absolutely what you're saying, but also how can I bring that into the client conversation, right? So how can I
Oh, okay.
introduce the client? It may not be what Larry means, but it's striking that tone with me. If I want to say, well, I offer this, plus my AI buddy over here, let me introduce you. I mean, is that something we hide in the back room so that they don't really know what we're doing in the black
Well,
box?
our clients who are offering these experts, where we said, we'll build an expert for you. It's right up front, right? We're going to take the top 10 authors, we're going to combine them into a bot, and you now have the ability to ask a question of the top 10 experts. That's right up front. We have a client who's building knowledge bots around, again, certain topics. Oh, you want to learn about leadership? I'll build a bot for you with all of our IP around leadership, and I'll bring in this other stuff. And then rather than trying to access me as a coach, which is a pain in the rear, you can access it 24/7, right? There it's up front.
Right.
But there's a question which I think is related, which is, do you cite the bot? Do you cite AI or not?
I'm sorry for doing this. I'm looking for it now.
That's right. The Michael asked,
here it is. Okay, got it.
And first of all, I would never use any output from AI as is without checking it, because you have to, among other things, you need to make sure you are not plagiarizing. The bot doesn't care, but you do not want to be using somebody else's IP and get caught doing that because you didn't just take the step to check, oh, is this actually something published? But also, it's not smart. I mean, the bot isn't smart. So you have to double check it. And then you don't need to cite it because it's not actually your source. and that's why Perplexity is good, by the way, because it gives you where the sources of where it's pulling information from. And so you can go back and then properly attribute whoever had the original ideas or the original framing that you're using.
We've got a few questions, but we're hitting the bottom of the hour, David. Do we have to wrap up?
Unfortunately, I have to jump.
Yeah,
Okay.
I apologize.
No problem. Well, I can't answer these questions. So maybe you'll have a couple minutes sometime during the day. They're in the comments on LinkedIn. If not, that's fine. Thank you very, very much for coming here today. I really appreciate it. It's been a really interesting and lively session.
absolutely.
Next week, we're going to have a special guest. We'll talk about that and send you guys an email early next week. And then we're going to be having a face-to-face workshop just with me. Jonathan's going on vacation. We'll talk to you about that as well. So again, thanks very much, David, for joining us. Thanks, Jonathan. And
Jason, can I just encourage people, if they're consultants and are not familiar with us, just to, stop by, come, go to davidafields.com and at least become familiar.
Absolutely. And there's us, and there's phone numbers. And so I'll just leave this up there. Okay. So there's phone numbers. We'll give you a second to take a look. Any last thoughts?
That's it.
All right.
Thanks everybody for joining.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for coming today. Appreciate it.
Thanks all.
Bye.
Bye.